You have joined me and the wonderful Mavericks, and our special guest today is none other than young Ronald himself. Hey, Ronald, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
And we're so glad to have you as well. Hey, folks, we're going to be talking Google Analytics. How can you convert your visitors into loyal customers? We've talked, haven't we, on our shows in the past where we look at speed, we look at UX, we look at design, and we look at content. But Ronald is here with that missing ingredient. How can we convert those visitors? How can we look at Google Analytics and learn from it and improve? So Ronald has prepared something for us. We're going to be watching and listening with you. However, we'd encourage you to ask questions throughout. Ronald's given us permission to interrupt him at any point with questions. So before we do that, let's first go around the room doing a little 60-second intro of everyone, and then we shall release Ronald on you. So first of all, let's start with Jan.
Hey, I'm Jan. I'm the host of the WP Agency Summit, WordPress developer based in Germany and part of the fantastic Cloudways Mavericks team.
Awesome. Ronald.
Well, my name is Ronald. I am the Community and Partnership Manager for YITH, which actually stands for Your Inspiration Themes. It's a much asked question. I also co-host the WooCommerce London meetup. Every Wednesday we have 1 hour where we just have loads of people talking about WooCommerce, try to get them help. We're actually now on a path to make the first sale by December. So session 1 was yesterday. We're moving on. I've been using WooCommerce for a number of years, and with YITH now. So I think that's 60 seconds, right?
Yeah, no, you're good. Peter.
Hello. I'm Pete Chaneri. I'm here to, you want me to introduce myself, don't you? That's what you want from me, isn't it?
It's secretly, yes.
Yes. I'm Pete Chaneri. I am a Cloudways Maverick, and I am a UX and design consultant. And I can't wait to, and Ronald is a good friend, and I can't wait to learn from him today, because I am a UX expert, yes, but analytics are not my forte, I have to admit. And therefore, I just really can't wait to learn and see what the secrets are to do that magic thing of converting visitors into lifelong fans. I mean, who doesn't want that, really?
Absolutely. And finally, my name is Lee. I'm the host of the Agency Trailblazer podcast, which you can check out on agencytrailblazer.com. So, Ronald, it's over to you to share the magic that Peter just mentioned. I'm going to throw your screen up, and we're going to listen in awe with several drop-mouthed open moments.
Brilliant.
Like that.
That looks good. Well, so convert store visitors into loyal customers using Google Analytics. So Google Analytics is a tool. So I'm going to give you some hints and tips how you can analyze your traffic and then focus on what matters most. Focus on the segment of visitors that then turn into customers. But then it's also looking back after you've implemented some new things, tools, or ways of doing stuff, and then looking back. But what do you then look for? Because from experience, I see most store owners and website owners in general, but let's just focus on e-commerce, is look at the number of visits to the website property. And yes, it can go up. Sometimes it's down to a Google algorithm change. Maybe it's to do big social media, or you've gone viral or so. But that sometimes can give you a false positive, because not all of them are then customers. So it's sort of ignoring everything that's happening and focus on the part of the visitors that then will turn into a customer. So sounds all really complex. So I think I'm gonna share the next. So this part was the introduction in a nutshell, but I think I've done that already. So I'm going to move on. In general, if it answers the main goal, which is increasing your revenue, there are 3 ways of doing it. This is the way I break it down. Get more customers, increase value, repeat business. If it answers any of the 3 targets, then you're probably doing something right. And that's in a way to make you focus on one of the three targets and ignore everything else. As mentioned before, design and navigation. I'm not going to take that into account in this small presentation. Site speed and optimization, content strategy, SEO. I think I've got the fellow Mavericks here helping me out on that, and you've touched on that so many times. But it's so important because without a good-looking design, website design, or a terrible navigation, or even worse, where you can't even use the search. Again, if the website just doesn't work, and if you haven't got a strategy in place, well, you're doomed, really, isn't it? That's what it comes down to.
For me, with regards to the design, etc., I and maybe you'll touch on it later. One of my struggles is I think I know what good design looks like, and I've learned so much from Peter, of which I'm so grateful for. And yet, I don't quite understand how to use things like analytics to work out what is working best. Simply because I find Google Analytics so freaking complicated and have no idea where anything is. So I'm sure that question is going to come up in a bit. Carry on, mate.
No, that's fine. And the thing is, I'm going to give you so much information, and it's so simple to me because I use it on a day-to-day basis. So I will encourage you to not get too confused by all the tabs and things I'm running through, and
just put it in baby talk for me, and I'll be happy.
And if I go too fast, do stop me there, because it's the classic mistake, isn't it?
And the good thing is, we have this online. So if somebody watching this gets distracted, as we probably will, you could just catch the replay.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But this is so, just really quickly, this is so, I mean, that's why we're friends, Ronald, because we completely are on the same, we're experts in different areas, but we completely agree on everything. So it's so great that you talk about this, and it's completely in line with the Cloudways ethos as well, because the Cloudways head of content, Max Johns, he's all about content strategy and SEO, and these elements just work together and are all as important. So thanks, that's brilliant.
And I think it's also you can't know everything, and you can complement each other. And if you create a team and each has their own expertise and put it together, and maybe let analytics decide what works best, as well as, of course, expertise. But yeah, it's good to have the fellow experts as well with me, and I'm so glad as well. We are actually friends as well, because that's all done through meeting, WordPress meetups and WordCamps, other conferences, online conferences, and I feel really good about that. That even I might not sort of have asked you any questions, but knowing I know somebody who knows quite a bit is really reassuring.
Yeah, well,
anyway,
it's a mutual appreciation society, basically.
Yes. So this is your traditional customer journey, and I think if I asked you, draw me a customer journey, this is probably what you'll come up with. Number one is the website visitor. Number two is making that sale, maybe a repeat sale, buying in a sale, and then eventually they'll expire into a non-customer as time passes. But let's have a look at Google Analytics, and in particular attribution view. I'm going to change tabs, hopefully. So this is a sort of your typical, what you're looking at maybe the first time or second time opening a property. This is a tradition, an e-commerce store. We're looking here at acquisition, all traffic, and the different channels. So you can see that over a period of time, we've had almost 18,000 users, and of which 38% come from organic, direct, social media, etc. And here on the right-hand side, you can see the revenue that's generated by each of these channels. But there are certain things that you can't really tell. Is you have all these users, and you can see some of the transactions. But look, there's only 760 transactions out of almost 18,000 users, or 28,000 sessions. So, what does it mean? Who do we focus on? Because not every user turns out to be a buyer. if I then click on this button here, attribution, it takes a bit of time to load, so I've opened it already in here. We see then that in these tabs, that the number of touch points is here 4.81. Now, what that means is that on average, a user is interacting with your web property almost 5 times before they make a purchase. So 5 times a user comes to your website, compares, goes back, maybe reads the blog, comes back, and only then they'll make a purchase. And it could be way more.
Quick question.
If you look at, yeah.
Are those 5 times, are those 5 separate visits on the website? Or are those
Yes.
like browsing on the website itself?
No, separate visits.
Separate
And
visits. Wow.
if I look at it here, you can see the conversion lag. So how many days on average it takes for somebody to convert. So you now know how many times over how many days. So it's the average is 2.71. So if we round it up to 3, so it takes an average 3 days for somebody to make a purchase from the first time they come onto the website. So that gives you a little bit of a view of the behavior of your customer. That you look at Google Analytics and you think, oh yes, most of them come direct and they make a purchase. So, but where do they come from? Because the direct is your last click. Before that, there's a whole journey that started maybe with a Google ad, could be social media, another pay-per-click campaign, or maybe it could be a referral. And only then by coming back several times, at the end, maybe directly or through Google search, they then make the purchase. So now you that view or that idea of what Google tells you as a sort of a last click attribution could be wrong. And I think if you look at this in your own store, you might see some differences. And this is the model comparison. Here we have, this is sort of the last click, what Google tells you. If I then change that to first click, now I've checked this before, it doesn't give you the biggest difference, and this is, I've got shops where the difference is much bigger, but I couldn't share that, of course. But even so, here is a 14% difference. So comparing to where the journey started in terms of referral, we've had fewer conversions than when it comes to last click. Or for example, here on display marketing, we've had more customers started the first interaction through display marketing than the attributed revenue is given to the last click. So you need to settle.
Quick question.
Yeah.
What's sorry, ignorance. What's display marketing? What does display mean?
So you have a display is a visual, like a banner, for example.
Right. So that would that be on a like an ad that you put somewhere else?
Offline banner.
No, it could be on another site or a Google advertisement on a maybe if you read the Times, you sometimes see these adverts. Now, like I said, if you look at this in your own website, it will give you a very different view. And if you then compare it with different attribution models, where there's linear or position-based, you can then sort of compare where the journey started and where most of your efforts. So let's start with an example. If you run a Google ad campaign, you spend thousands on Google ads, but that's only the start of the journey, because few of those visitors make a purchase right on the first time, because we know it takes on average. It takes on average 4.81 of almost 5 times touch points before they make a purchase. So that first click will not get the sale attributed unless it's on the first click. But you're looking at Google Analytics here. We know that the journey started, especially if you target new search terms. Many more people will start with paid search, but it won't show up in your Google Analytics view. But by changing the attribution view from first click to last click,
So
data changing.
I'm sorry. I actually don't understand what attribution model means. Sorry. I'm playing the absolute idiot here because that's what I feel like. What does it mean? Attribution model, first click and last click. What is it in?
So the revenue, yeah, it is it's not easy. So the sale is attributed to the source or where your first interaction took place. Now you can change that, and let me show you this view. So here we have last click. So here we see that we've had 2 interactions with the website. One came from organic search and one came direct. 100% of the revenue is attributed to the organic search. If I go a bit further to one of the other examples right at the end, it'll become a little bit more complex. So here's one conversion. So somebody came through organic search, then 20 times direct, then a social media, organic search, etc., etc. But the conversion only took place on this paid search, or the conversion is attributed only to this for 100% to this paid click that the user clicked on in order to come to the website, even though they came afterwards direct. Now this model is something that Google has come up with, but if I change that to first click, the attributions completely changed. Now the comparison, you can only show that here in the model comparison, and that's why you see the differences. But I don't want to focus on this too much, because this is something that if you have, if you're running a campaign, or you focus very much on a social media campaign, and you then realize that you put all this effort into social media, but all the social media users, they don't really convert into customers, and this is where you can go back into the path and maybe realize that actually your social media does bring in a lot of people, because they start their journey through social media, then come back organic and maybe direct, and then eventually make a sale at the end on the 4th or 5th visit. But your effort doesn't show in Google Analytics.
What that could be. Yeah, so what that could be, because I've been wondering that myself. So what may be happening is someone will have visited my site because of a campaign I did. I may have retargeted them, but those retargeting campaigns don't convert either. But at some point, the person is aware of me and of the brand, has built up the trust, and may then come again in another month's time, naturally through listening to the podcast, and then make a purchase. And at that point, there'd have been a disconnect somewhere. I won't have realized that actually the social media got me the first touch point, but I still needed to go through an average of, say, 5 or 6 touch points before that person eventually was ready to buy. So don't give up on my social, but have a look and see if I can match up the data. Is that what you're saying? So I can
absolutely right. Yes.
Yes. 10 points for Lee.
Nailed it.
Woo! Thank you. My work here is done. I'm joking.
No, that's exactly right. And this is the something I see a lot, especially when you start spending money, that you can't just give up because your analytics or Google don't show an immediate result. It just takes time, and you need to put things into perspective, into balance, and maybe change the attribution view to justify that actually you do get a lot more converters by doing X or Y. So
is that why? Because I've just I'm running Facebook ads, and after a week I started making sales, and I thought it was absolutely great. And then I changed the ads. I edited them, which I'm told then means that it's learning again. The algorithm is learning. The ads are learning again, and I stopped making sales. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because it just means they'll be coming back, or just like Lee said, basically.
Correct. But then if you compare the two models, pre-change and post-change, and you'll find that you get more converters through first click before you made a change, and you see then a difference, using the same model after you've made the change, you can then probably justify if it's working or not working, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
So it's I mean, without seeing the actual advert and what it encourages people to do, it's probably difficult to be more specific than that. So this is then, what is sort of highlighted is the journey coming to your website and then making the first purchase is way longer than you think it is. And even if you look at Google Analytics, wow, that's a good. How many minutes in? 20 minutes in, and I can't say the word Google anymore. What Google Analytics shows you is not always correct, because it only accounts for the last click, unless you go into attribution view and you play around with it. So the path conversion is longer, so a lot more complex. And here's another example. The average of touch points is 4, and this is the same website. So you can see that we've just seen that it's almost 5, whereas here it's 4, and this is a previous period. But by engaging more with social media, running a mailing campaign, reminding people to come back, you sort of increase the number of touch points. And if then you compare that with the number of conversions, let's go back. If you compare that with the number of conversions and these two are in line, then you're doing the right thing. Now, if you're not quite sure which one is the right thing, whether social media is the right thing or spending more on pay-per-click, of course you need to do segment each of those or do an A and B test. You can do most of that with analytics, but that's probably going to level 2 there. So 99 paths to make a purchase. Again, here you see the most direct, the most common ones of 2 and more, and the more complex ones, the single ones. But eventually, like Lee said, they will come back. They will have spotted you, even if it takes them, 15 touch points, 20 touch points before they make that purchase. So be patient with it. Just recapping again, the journey before somebody makes a purchase is complex. There are things you can do, email marketing, remarketing with display or social media remarketing ads. But there are also tools within e-commerce itself that encourages people to come back to your store. Things like creating a wish list or save for later, things that might not necessarily start the purchase right there and then, but it's a start because they will want to compare it with other stores. So giving them a good reason to come back, even abandoned cart is a classic one to remind people to come back, and encourage people to make that conversion. If they don't convert or if they didn't make the purchase, maybe offer a discount coupon. I have already mentioned this actually. So we see the number of touch points increasing, and we see the transactions increasing. You're doing the right thing there. And this is the way where you can measure your efforts into results. So during the purchase, this is my third sort of metric to increase value. So we now looked at getting more customers, using this pre-period from visitors, engaging with them to turn them into customers. And now this is during the purchase where they're ready to make their purchase, but they haven't quite yet paid. And this is really quite short. Using Google Analytics, looking at the average order value, and if I just go in here and go under conversions, e-commerce, an overview, that's where you'll find the average order value. And then if you compare this with a period of week before, or maybe previous year, after you've implemented some changes, and you can then see the difference that your average order value has increased, well, in this case 8%. This average order value is a really important metric, especially if you run marketing campaigns, because if your average value of a basket of an order is let's say £100, if your marketing budget allows you, maybe 5 or even 10%, you know exactly how much it costs to bring in a customer and make that first purchase. So you could spend more.
Sorry, Ron,
Yes,
a
yeah.
quick question that we got from the audience, from Christian. Do you have these data enabled by default in Google Analytics, or do you need to track enhanced e-commerce for that?
No, you do need to implement the e-commerce in the settings but I think it's automatic now. The Google for WooCommerce plugin is just literally one tick, so you don't need to add any custom code in the header to see this type of data.
Oh, that's great to know.
Yeah.
And then Chris had a similar question. Those views inside Google Analytics that we're looking at right now, for example, did you build those yourself, or are those default?
These are all default. Yeah.
Nice.
And the next, and if I just stay on that, so if we look at, for example, repeat business, the way to look at it in that way is to segment it. And for example, you could say you can customize it. Let's see if I can actually do it. Made a purchase more than once. So apply. See, it does take a bit of time. It's quite a lot of data needs to go, especially now because I've shared it as comparing. But you can actually then see of all those that made a purchase who've made a purchase before. So you can measure the repeat customer. Right. So here's a lot of data. So here's the top one: transactions, average order value. For those who've made a repeat purchase, we see that the average order value has also increased from 60 to 82 pounds in this case. And also we've attracted a lot more repeat customers from 63. So 38% of increase in repeat customers compared to last year. So this is
a really, really pretty chart, by the way. Just saying, not relevant, but pretty chart.
Yeah, and you can save this. So if this is something you want to look at all the time, this is really important to measure how you're doing. So you've implemented all these things. So throughout your checkout, you've added upsells to it. You've added, you're focusing on suggestive selling, or maybe you're doing a deal. This average order value is really important. But then also later down the line, if you are focusing on an email campaign to bring people back, or maybe you're running a sale, this is in a really quick view over an extended period of time to see if you're getting repeat customers, to purchase something. Because it's easier. I mean, it's the classic too. It's easy just to sell something to an existing customer than attracting new customers. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I knew this was going to be sort of something that would be more of a conversation, also based on the questions. So spotting the opportunity. Here's another little trick here. So if you go into this is the Google Merchant view. If you go to audience and behavior, you can sort of see how many days. After how many days somebody made a purchase, and here is you can see how many somebody made a purchase. But if I days since last purchase, here we go. So somebody, so you can see straight after one day, still 56 made another purchase. It's a repeat purchase, and again, if you dive down a little bit deeper, this isn't the most amazing graph because, again, sharing customer data, I have to be a bit careful about it. But what you can figure out is when to target somebody to come back for another purchase. And what is always really obvious is the very soon after that first purchase, somebody comes back to your website, and I think this is often to do with something you've seen in the shop. You've thought about it, and then the day after you think, actually I do need it. But if you take that one step further and play with that with either a discount coupon or maybe an email based, and if you have really good email marketing software, you could almost track down what pages they've been looking at and target this specific person because they've made their first purchase. Say, well, not to creep you obviously by saying we know you like this. Here's a discount, but you could create an email remarketing based on something they've looked at and increase the number of repeat purchases after they made the first purchase. So this is just one of other way of using Google Analytics. Look at your past, and with that, look at the future. Predict what your customers want or what their natural behavior is, and then once you implement it, play with it. Then look back maybe after a month or after a quarter and see what you've implemented has had a success. And I very much placed, what this last example of your repeat customers. Again, repeat customers, whether it's a sale, especially once they're expiring, this is the period after maybe 30 days, 3 months to have a deal especially for them, because you can see they are, less engaging. And again, if you go then back to this view, and review that, and you can see that after 31 days up to 120 days, the number of purchases increases. You're doing something right there, and you can improve on that. So as a bit of a recap here, just on using Google Analytics, we can see that the customer journey is way more complex. There's a lot more you can do to interact to achieve your goal by increasing revenue, getting more customers, especially this first period, increasing the average order value by comparing period on period through the e-commerce view. And then looking for that opportunity when the customer will make that second purchase or third purchase, and then review that by the frequency, segmenting it by purchase to see that what you've implemented has an effect. I've talked about here we go. These are the three metrics to focus on. I've talked about how to measure it in Google Analytics. I'm just going to run quickly through, if we have plenty of time, some of the ideas.
This was going to be my question. So really great to see it.
There are loads of different examples, but there are some really easy gains by implementing a plugin, for example. It doesn't always have to be external, software or HubSpot, where you completely segmented with email marketing and so on. But sometimes a simple plugin, setting it up and encouraging people to become an affiliate and run your own referral scheme. Maybe introduce a €50 or dollar Amazon voucher if they bring in a customer. It doesn't always have to be on a commission based, but that can have a really positive effect. Creating a wish list. It will give you access to user data. You'll know what they will like, but also you can then target the user or a group of users who have a particular product in their basket to come back, whether you give it a discount or not. And that's something that you can do out of the box and automate.
Question. I have a quick question about the wish list, Ronald. So I know that youth have a wish list plugin, but do you have to have WooCommerce installed? Because I sell mostly courses, so I don't really need WooCommerce. I can just get away with forms that actually not even that. I just use Thrivecart. So do I have to? Does it only work with WooCommerce?
The wishlist plugin, yes.
Yes.
In your case, Do you have more than one courses?
Well, I don't have that many yet, but I imagine that one day I would, and it's just I will soon, and it's just such a nice thing, a wish list. I really like it because also it encourages customers to create a profile as well. And I mean, I was thinking about what you was many of the things that you were talking about earlier, because for instance, today I finally bought some bulbs to be planted in the autumn so that in the spring I'll finally have tulips. All my life now I feel like a proper grown-up, because all my life I've thought, oh, this is the autumn when I really will buy the tulips and hyacinths and the other thing, lovely things that grow in the spring. And this is the first time that I've done it. But if I told you how many times I actually visited that website before I got to the point where I made the purchase. But the reason why I did is also that I knew that I had my wish list in there, and I could just go and look at the wish list. But I'm just thinking, because WooCommerce is actually really recommended only if you have quite complex physical products. Otherwise, if you can avoid actually installing it, sorry to say that because you're a WooCommerce company, but it's actually, if you don't really have to, then maybe do something else. So, but anyway, if you want a wish list, you're saying you have to have WooCommerce is the answer, I guess.
Yes, but that's a really good example, because so many things you do like maybe for a later project like yourself, and I've seen really nice examples of a wish list where you can, with really big images, and if you use good product images, where you can sort of drag around and add this and that and create your own color palette. Well, in this case, in your case with bulbs, you could almost visualize the way your garden is going to look with the right colors of reds and yellows and I was going to say greens, but I don't think you have many green tulips, isn't it?
Well, but you do get tulips that have green in the leaves as well, in the petals. So yeah. But anyway, wish list, amazing thing. I'm going to think about how to do a wish list.
Yeah, and of course it allows you to share it. So you might not share an actual product, but if you have a wedding list or for a baby shower or more sort of a complex project that you're running, you could save it for later. And some wish lists come with really cool tools, like contact the merchant and maybe ask for a special price, for example. The push to conversion, this is sort of your third, somebody's interested and they're really getting very near to making that purchase. So abandoned carts I've mentioned before, to help with making that first purchase, whether you add a discount to it and so on. And there are various other examples, but and then it's the suggest, sell, and upsell. Now this is not always about making more money, because it's if you have a badly designed store, up and suggest sell can actually save your bacon, because if you couldn't find that additional product that made you then go somewhere else, by the suggest sell, for example, a product bundle, if you go for buying bulbs, but you want the compost to go with it, the specialist compost, but you couldn't initially see it in the first place. You think, well, I might as well just go to my local garden store center. Just to big center, because it's a lot easier, because I don't want to go to two places anyway. So by suggesting additional products that will complement it, you could actually give somebody the full experience. And same with discounts, dynamic discounts, encourage people to spend a little bit more, but actually get a much better price. You hear it all the time. Ooh, I got these, these tulips bulbs for €5 in the store. They are €10, but then of course you had to buy 10 packs or boxes of bulbs to get that price. But it helps you to, as a store owner, to get the customer to spend more. And of course, the customer feels good because they made a good saving.
Yeah.
Finally, right by the checkout, throw in another offer. Maybe not the best example to buy a van, but it's you know, in your case, you know, you bought all the bulbs. Why not buy the extra specialist composter or plant feed to help your bulbs give the best start? You're so close to the checkout, you'll go for it, wouldn't you?
Maybe you need a van because you've bought so much. I'm not sure, so.
Free delivery, yeah. Let's move on. Short-term bounce back. This is sort of, you know, where we've looked at that Google Analytics, the between 1, 2, and 3 days where you still get a lot of people coming back. Points and rewards. I really like that. I struggle to get used to the idea and give some real life examples, but maybe that's because I'm not so much of a, you know, a gamer, but gamifying your purchase by adding points to it and say, well, if you buy an additional item, we'll give you an extra 50 points on top of it if you do it within 24 hours, has a surprising good success rate. And what are the points? You know, maybe for the points you can get a free cap, for example. Look what I've got. But you know, and the cost of the cap is so little. Yet for somebody who really values a nice bit of swag, oh my goodness, they'll just go for it. And then the midterm bounce back, you know, save for later. I think Amazon is a very good example when it comes to it, where, you know, you've added things to your basket. Maybe you've selected to not buy it, but it's still there. So sending an email to say, oh, by the way, we've still got that item in your basket. Maybe you're interested now because now is the season to plant the bulbs. And then, of course, as the customer journey, as the value decreases, that's when you start with discounts, with store sales, offering free, you know, 10% off, maybe on a membership, or, you know, free shipping and those sort of things, to bring people back, because they've maybe started looking at other shops, maybe they've compared, maybe they have an experience somewhere else. So this is a time to go with the discounts. Finally, you know, as your customer is expiring, it's time to still engage with them, and this is where we then come back to number 1. Maybe get referrals with a, you know, refer a friend scheme as an example, and then the plus point is really to bring the loop back to number 1 or number 2 or number 3 and start the whole journey back again. Finally, and this is my sort of bonus giveaway, and I'll show you an example. If you look at behavior and site search, and so many sites don't do this, search terms. Because look here, we have a whole list. Oh, let me just take that segment off. We've got a whole list, and the comparison, sorry, and expand just to simplify it. We've got almost 6,500 of search terms that people typed in the search bar of products they were looking for. And this is very good information, because even though you haven't been able to convert your customer, these search terms, and if I then go back and...
I do have a question on this. I see unavailable in mine all the time when I try to go to search terms. Am I doing something wrong?
I know.
I see like 3 search terms,
the
and then it'll say 3 search terms like web design or whatever, and then it'll say 10,000 unavailable, and I won't know what those 10,000 were.
Have you set it up? Have you checked on the setup? And if you're using whether you're using a plugin, just type in a search term and look in Google if you set it up in the. I'm not sure if I can find it so quickly.
Well, I'm changing it out, and I'm having a poke around now to see what I've done wrong. But I was just wondering. I'm like, I don't see that. I just see
the same, Lee. I'm the same. I only see unavailable.
And I feel like Jan doesn't see that because he looks smug.
Site search.
I do have a different, more high-level question about this when we figured out how to.
Oh, more high-level question. Rude.
Yeah,
you're saying you're a genius, are you?
I'm saying that I'm not smart enough to get to this level.
There's all the letter
Lee,
S.
we're the artists.
Here.
Yeah, we are the artists, thankfully.
Come on,
That's
give me the
why.
question.
That's why.
That's all right. I haven't got that checkbox, so I'm going to have a look. Thank you for that. Carry on.
My question would be, I've seen many discussions going on whether to enable or disable search, and the thought I have is, if you have a small store with like 20 products or something like that, wouldn't a search lead to more frustrated users because they probably will not find what they are looking for?
If the search is badly set up, yeah, that would be the case. But if you're on a mobile and you can't look for the product, search is your lifeline for a quick find. And I think from a store's or merchant perspective, it's probably one of your best tools, market research tools, because it will record all the items that you might not have in stock. And if you then compare that with, you go through the list, and I'm not going through the whole list, but if you compare it with come back, search terms again. And if you then look at all the names and think, actually, I don't stock wheelchair, I really should, because it has yielded 172. This is just an example, 172 searches in the last month and a half or so. So, it is something that people have come onto your site for, didn't find it, therefore didn't make a purchase. So that's a really quick, easy game. And also, if you do have it, and you do find that people then didn't find it, because maybe there's a different way of spelling Betsy, but I-E or Y, whether you then move it to the front page, and this is then a bit of UX there, where your most popular items should be on the home page to give people a bit of an idea. You could use that, Google Analytics search term to justify what should be on there or what shouldn't be there.
Interesting.
And then finally, when we talk about monitor, learn, and improve, Google Data Center, I love that. You can set up your own dashboard. So rather than tapping around in Google Analytics, you can set up what matters most to you. You can set your date. You can compare it to last period. This is a Google Data Center. This is a complete different set of thing you can learn to set it up. But it is actually really easy. There are some predefined dashboards that you can just set up.
Is that part of G Suite, or is it? Where do you?
It's a free tool. Datastudio.google.com.
Okay, great. I mean, Lee, so I'm learning so much. These two are like, yeah, and I'm like, I just.
Well, I'd never heard of that either. I was just complaining the other day that I don't know what I'm looking at half the time. So here we are, datastudio.google.com.
And if you can add a new page. Here we go. If we have 2 minutes, I'll show you how easy it is. So you can add data. Oh, it comes out because I haven't used it for a while, right?
That's how easy it is. Yeah.
I think this should be another complete new session. But yeah, if you click on it, you start to see. I know it's quite difficult, but here we go. Organic searches, so I can add another metric to it.
It's really nice because it pulls real-time data, and you can add filters and searches and stuff like that. It's really great if you forward those reports to clients you're managing the ecom for or something like that, and they just have everything they want to see.
I'm going to leave that to that just because we're on a bit of a time. So I'm going to give you some lessons here. The path to conversion is much more longer and can be influenced. Lee gave a very good example of his experience and how you can play with that by maybe adding more effort into social media, for example, and monitor that with attribution view. Selling before, during, and after checkout to increase your average order value. Wish list, I think, is a straightforward example. Discover the opportunities after purchase. So if you look at the frequency report and see the number of purchases after that first purchase, after 1, 2, 3 days, use some tools, maybe an email automation, and see how that changes over time. And also where we compared the return customer in the analytics e-commerce view. And an expired customer is still it's not a lost customer. You can win them back by, again, adding automations.
Can I just ask, because expired customer makes me laugh a little bit, makes me think of either expired milk or dead.
Dead customer.
Exactly, dead customer, or gone off like milk. But what does it actually mean? What's an expired customer? When does a customer classify as expired?
I think for everybody it's different, but it's somebody who's made a purchase and doesn't come back and will never come back again. But you still have their data, and they might.
We have your data, yeah.
Yeah, they're not engaging with you anymore. So if you have the permission to target them, then it's a really good way, using different tools to bring them back again, whether it's a sale, mail marketing is probably the most obvious examples, and remarketing or social media. But using that as a group where you can focus on and say, well, this week I'm just going to focus on my expired customers, the ones that haven't made a purchase in the last 90 days, and I'm going to target them and see what the result will be after I've done this campaign for maybe 2 or 3 months. And I'm measuring that in Google Analytics. You might be surprised that actually they sort of forgot about you, but they're not disloyal. They're not, they still want to buy from you. So there you have it. There's an audience that have used you before. They know who you are. You can target them. Why not? It's just to give you that focus of not always on new customers, pay-per-click. It could be very costly, whereas there you have a group you can target so easily.
I have a question too. So there are many people who have not engaged with Google Analytics. They've either forgotten to do it, never done it, or like me, several months ago, launched a new site and forgot to add it. So they have no data for the last few months. How much data do you need? I just confessed this live. How long should I be leaving it before I start to look at my data? Is it, like when someone says, oh, it's too late to start a social media account now, it's going to take you ages to build up, blah, 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 blah. With Google, Google Analytics, how many weeks, sorry, I'll blurt my question out. Yeah, how many weeks should I leave it before I start to analyze the data and start to see patterns? 30 days? 10 days?
It all depends, but after definitely within a few weeks, you can already start to see patterns of your behavior. The attribution view is something you need to activate as soon as you click that button in the bottom left here. It will go through a series of questions you want to activate, and then it takes a couple of days for things to show up. So you do need to do this as soon as you possibly can. But make sure you add Google Analytics to your website launch checklist, because the data is there. If you want to go back 1 or 2 years, how amazing would that be to compare? And if you're a freelancer, if you're a developer working with a client, and you want to then justify that your site speed or your UX or your content strategy or implementing new e-commerce or other tools has actually made an effect, you want to go back to a year and say, hey, by doing this, I can justify that we've increased revenue by 20%. So then I think this is a complete different argument, because then you're sharing not just what it cost you, but the value you've added to the business.
Yeah. Now there's a comment from Janrikus Janssen in my group. So because I'm technically challenged at the moment, my computer basically won't let me to do more than one thing at a time. It's like a man refuses to multitask. But he's saying this article explains why Google Analytics will tell you most of the time that the keyword is not provided. This started in 2011, and how to go about fixing that. And he provides a link to a SEMrush article. So I'll add it when my computer allows me. Then when this is over, I'll link that in the main video, so that everybody can find out how to sort this out if they don't see the search terms.
That's really useful, yeah. But connecting it to Search Console and connecting the two properties is another must. But then I think I'm touching more on SEO territory. But that's, those Google Analytics, Search Console added to your launch checklist.
We have another question in here as well. As a quick recap, which KPIs should we ask our marketers to set up and include in their reports for us related to loyalty?
That's a really good question.
That's a killer question, that is.
I know. That's something I actually have to
Pressure is on you, Ronald, now. Come on now.
It something depends on your what you're selling and who your clientele are. But for me, it's average order value is one of the biggest ones. The number of customers that come to your site and then converts, and if you then compare the two over time, you can see that your marketing department is actually doing something good or not, and depending on which source they come from. If they're very much focused on organic marketing or Google SEO, then you want to see a higher first entry or attribution to organic versus social media, or if it's the other way around. And then of course it's a repeat business, the repeat business rate of your orders, because if you're retargeting your customers, you encourage them to come back. If 20% of your total number of transactions comes from repeat customers, and you can see that's increasing to 25 by implementing a strategy, then again, very quickly you can see they're doing something right.
No, that's good. Awesome. Well,
Great stuff.
I was going to say we do have other questions, but we are now running out of time. So what we're going to do is go a little quick wrap up. My biggest takeaway is check your freaking Google Analytics, because it might say 0 like mine did. Thankfully, I had nothing to sell at the time when I was when it was disconnected. But yeah, takeaway is go ahead and check that out. But I think the biggest takeaway for me in reality was that customer journey is, if I'm investing in social media and that person hitting my website not converting straight away, that doesn't mean that was lost. And I really do need to deep dive now into my analytics once I build up some history and see where people are coming from and how many times they're coming back, if they're converting eventually, etc., and see what lessons I can learn. So if you've had value from this episode, please give us some emojis and thank Ronald so much for him being here. If you have questions, carry on writing them in here. Feel free to tag him or us into those questions, because we can always circle back with you as well, which is phenomenal. If you've got this far and you've watched the replay, type in the word replay so we know you joined us later on in the day. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go around the room on how you can connect to each one of us, and then we will do the awkward goodbye. So Ronald, as you are our esteemed guest, please let us know all the many ways that we can get in touch with you.
Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, yes, still doing that. Anyway, I'm always happy to answer and help people. So
is it the same username across
what's your
all?
Twitter handle? Yeah.
Oh, I've got it on my screen here. It's just to Ronald. So
here we go. Nice and easy on the screen for you. These are the ways you can connect with Ronald, and of course, check out YITH as well, which stands for again.
Your Inspiration Themes.
Your Inspiration Themes. Who specialize predominantly in WooCommerce products. So that's right, isn't it?
Well, it used to be themes. That was the main product, but that market is going down a little bit. So now it's just plugins, and we do have a free theme as well.
Awesome. Peacher, let's do your contacts.
You can get in touch with me on my Facebook group, Design for Geeks, website designforgeeks.com, and on Twitter I am at Peacher, so that's nice and easy. And LinkedIn, it's Peacher-Neri.
Awesome. Jan?
I would say just the Facebook group is probably the best way to get a hold of me, and that's WP Mastery.
Awesome. And for me, agencytrailblazer.com. And if you're lucky, I'll give you the number for that phone. You can have a chat with me. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, if you're not part of the Cloudways users group, tap in Cloudways users and you can join us in the Facebook group over there, where we're all having conversations about all sorts of wonderful things, including Google Analytics. Ronald, thank you again for your time. All that is left for us to do is to do an awkward wave until I say end broadcast, which is in 5, 4, 3, 2. That's a very big, graceful wave, Peacher. You look like swimming.